Alrighty, so we're gonna make this video right quick to show what I mean about these Ford 4.6 and 5.4 heads. A lot of people have the misunderstanding that that you have a left head and a right head and they are not interchangeable, but that's not true, and we're going to show that here in just a moment. I'm just going to grab some paper towels to pick these up. I'm going to take them right outside here and we're going to put them on the truck. Okay, so those of you who are familiar with the history of Ford, you'd know your small block Fords, you'd know your FE series Fords, your big block Ford family, and you know that Ford, when it came to manufacturing, they didn't really do a whole lot as far as differences. I mean, the similarities within families of engines aside, even the difference between a Windsor head and a Cleveland head, as different as they might be, they're not so different that you can't have what's called a cleavor. Look it up. But long story short, it's mismatching and mix and matching rather the heads for a better result. People do it. It's a pain in the butt, but people do it. Here's the deal. We have some Ford 4.6/5.4 heads. We'll call them modular 2-valve heads for illustration purposes. This is very, very, very simple, people. Okay? Ford did not waste time manufacturing unique engines, or should I say rather unique cylinder heads for their engine. It didn't happen. Get the idea out of your head, okay? It's very, very simple. When you look at these engines, when you look at these heads, you see these are PI heads over here on the right from a Ford Mustang. This is an NPI head from a Ford Mustang. So that means this is 96 to 98, or 99 rather, 99 and a half. And then this is 99 and a half to 2004 on the 2-valve. Granted, these are all Romeo, okay? Not Windsor, but again, it's Ford that we're talking about here. They didn't waste time or money on that. I can guarantee that that would have been one of the most logistical, one of the most ridiculous logistical missites that any manufacturing company has made within the past, what, 2, 3, 4 decades. So, anyway, when it comes to these heads, they are exactly the same. I'm going to tell you that. They are exactly the same. You're going to look at them and you're going to say, but they're not. Look at this ridge up here, and look how this one is flat. And when you put them on the engine, one sits closer to the head, your gear sits closer to the head, one sits farther out from the head, so that way you can run them on the timing, on the timing chains without them interfering with each other. But again, I'm going to tell you it again as many times as I can say it in this video. Ford did not waste money on making different heads. Here's a little magic trick we're going to do right now. We're going to do this, and I want you to see something, because again, we have a lot of people that are talking about this, but they don't have a set of heads in front of them and they're still talking about it like they do. So we're going to make this very simple. Okay, alright. So first things first, I want you to look at this. You see that right there? Okay. You already know we got the same look going on down here. Same thing over here. Flat, flat, flat. Alright, so as far as the cast is concerned, we have the exact same shape going on these heads. Exact same shape as far as general. Granted, these are PI, this is NPI, so there are some differences as far as your intake ports. These are also ported PI, so the difference is going to be quite drastic on your intake ports versus NPI intake ports. So, granted, that's there. This one, I also haven't got my my cam followers installed or anything like that. So, granted, this one's closer to being a bare head, but try to follow me, okay? I want you to look down here, and I want you to see the difference here, okay? There is none. As far as this is concerned, this is what a PI little oil galley thing looks like. This is what the NPI one looks like. But as far as the locations of your bolt holes here, they are exactly the same, spaced exactly the same. And if you'll notice, this side is a little cleaner, this side is a little dirtier. Generally, it's reversed. Generally, this side being outside of the engine is going to be a little dirtier, and this side being inside of the engine is going to be a little cleaner. It's going to be covered with oil. However, that's not the case as we see here. So, what are we looking at here, and why do we have this? Why do we have this going on? What do we have going on here? Essentially, I also think whoever put these on here put them on here backwards. I'm going to look at here over here at the back side. Yeah. I think whoever put these on here put them on here backwards. That's another story for another time. But the thing that decides whether or not this is a left side head or a right side head is going to be these little bolts here. So there's one here up at the top. There's one that sits right here. Okay? If this is plugged, then this goes outside of the engine. This is an external outside of the engine. This is the only place that oil can come out of this head. This is a bolt hole, this is a bolt hole, that's a bolt hole that's plugged up, as you can see on each of those. And then this guy right here, again, is what decides which side of the engine this is on. So this should not be plugged up on this head, and yet it is, which tells me that somebody installed it wrong. And if you're paying attention to when somebody gives you a set of heads, please pay very close and very careful attention to that. That means somebody installed it, put it on here wrong. Same thing over here. I can see that this side is open, and that means that it's on here backwards. So whoever put this this cam on here is obviously somebody who wasn't paying attention and doesn't know what they're doing. That said, when it all comes down to it, I can also see gasket material on here. That this is the side that used to be installed on the engine. Excuse me, the cover. Same thing over here. So again, they put these on here backwards. This side is not blocked off. That side is blocked off. This side is blocked off. That side is not blocked off. They put these cams on here backwards. So anyway, all that to say, when it comes to what decides whether or not your engine is your head is a left side head or a right side head, and also, as we see here today, a very quick and easy way to check and see if the person who installed your cams did so properly, you can look and see. I'm going to go ahead and grab these just for illustration's sake so that everybody can see and we can finally put this nonsense to rest. Okay, so these are your chain tensioners. Your chain tensioners are going to sit on here like so, okay? Very simple. I'm going to start that screw there, I'm going to start that screw there, and I'm going to let that sit, okay? Same thing with this cam tensioner. Alright, I'm going to start that screw there, I'm going to start that screw down there at the bottom, I'm going to start this screw up here at the top, and I'm going to let it sit. Okay, as far as it's concerned, again, these are the same head. I'm going to take these off of here. Just to prove the spacing is the same, we're going to go over here to this NPI engine head. I'm just going to start these bolts here, just so that you can see. Just so that you can see it sitting there, and it's doing what it should be doing. Again, the main thing that decides whether or not this cam tensioner, this chain tensioner is getting the oil that it needs, the hydraulic pressure that it needs, is whether or not this plug is unplugged or not. So, if it's plugged in, you're going to find it's not even going to want to flush mount. If it isn't plugged up, then it's going to get a nice flush mount. All you have to do is remove that plug, which you'll see here in just a moment, is the simplest thing on the planet. It's an Allen wrench key. That's all you need. You'll take that plug, you'll pull it out, you'll put it where it needs to be. On this head, again, this cam is mounted on here backwards. If somebody was to try to put this on their engine, they'd find that they'd have no oil pressure and they'd be leaking oil outside the backside of their engine from both heads, which would be problematic because in order to rectify that, you'd need to, one, put plugs on the back side of the engine, and you'd need to unplug the front side of the engine, which would mean you'd have to do a whole nother front end job, which would be a pain in the butt. I don't know who put this together, but I need to slap them. I need to slap them. I need to slap them hard, because that's not the first dumb thing I've seen them do with the repair, quote unquote, of this block. But we'll go over that some other time. For now, I just want you to see, those of you who don't know or think you know but know wrong, I understand you're trying to help, and I appreciate that. However, again, I know what I'm talking about. This bolt here is what, this little plug here is what decides whether or not this is a left side or right side engine. Engine head. So now we're going to take this and we're going to turn it around. We're going to do the exact same thing on the back side, just to make sure that we answer this question as thoroughly as possible. If you still have doubts, I can't help you. I'm sorry. You're just going to have to figure it out on your own and go get your own heads and test it and then go from there. As far as what we're covering here today, again, looking at these heads, you'll see flat, 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 recessed, recessed, recessed. I'd say convex, but it's not a curve, it's a square shape. Anyway, all that to say, these are exactly the same as far as the left versus right argument is concerned. Looking at them, you'll see, again, generally in the same spot, you'll have your mounts, your bolt holes for your chain tensioners, and you'll be able to reverse those if you reverse your oil flow if you like. I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it over here. So knowing that this is a PI head, knowing that this is the exact same PI head, we're going to skip that guy. We're going to go over here to the NPI head, and we're going to put our cam tensioner, or chain tensioner rather, on here. Now this one sat outside. It got a little corrosion in there, but I assure you that is a bolt hole. We're going to have to go ahead and clean it out. We're going to do that right quick. If you'll bear with me a moment. Use a simple flathead screwdriver. Get this thing cleared out. Alrighty. Alright. Cleared it out. As you see, bolt's gonna have a little bit of problem getting in there, but again, it's because of the residue that's in there. As far as the bottom one, as far as the top one is concerned, you can see it turns freely in there. I'm not going to mess with that too much. You'll just have to take my word for it. This was just dumb. Whoever did this was a dumb deal. This was dumb. I'm a bit upset about that. Whoever it was that set that cam up and that engine up, don't just take somebody's word that they set up your engine properly when they rebuilt it. Because while these are great, I feel like that's great. They ported the heads a little shabby here. But still, somewhat of a port job done on it. It's cool and all, but at the end of the day, the things that they missed were so egregious that it would lead to catastrophic engine failure. That's another story for another time. Probably comes from people who are not being careful and taking their time to look at what they're doing. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like that hasn't been me. Part of the reason why I have to rebuild my engine at the moment is because of the fact that I wasn't taking my time in doing it. But right now, we're not talking about me. We're talking about the people that did this wrong. And I'm going to take out my frustrations with myself on them. So, there. Anyway, now that we've covered that, as you can see here, these heads, for the last time, are exactly the same. Exactly the same. Exactly the same. Exactly the same. Move this out of the way just so that you can see the freeze plugs are in the same location. The bolt holes and spacing is in the exact same location. You see a little white stuff here as far as that's concerned, but again, that's the same stuff that was in here. Some sort of corrosion, some sort of, not even corrosion, it's just gunk that gets in there from it sitting out for so long. And you clean it out, boom, you're done. As far as the rest of this is concerned, again, you can see this one is open here, plug there like it should be. All of them have a plug there, all of them have a plug above that. You can't see it because of the cam gear here, but there it is right there. And this one is open, as it should be if the cam gear is on this end and is installed properly. It is not. There is no marking on this head that tells you whether or not it is left or right as far as a L or an R, at least as far as what I've observed in working with these heads. There's nothing that tells you that, and the reason why is because of the fact that it is not set up to be it's not set up to be one side only. You set it up to be whatever side you want it to be. That is, it is universal. On the contrary, the chain tensioners, as you can see here, are clearly marked left and right, and very specifically designed for, one side or the other, and that is important to note. I feel like they look exactly the same to me as well, and it could just be that somebody marked them like that so that way if you took them off and had to reinstall them, it'd be easy to know reinstalling them back in their original locations. But that doesn't mean that they wouldn't work one side or the other. So all that to say, these are the same heads. There are a lot of people that keep on writing, and some asking whether or not it's the left or the right head, some trying to tell me that it's the left or the right head. But as far as it's concerned, these are the same. They're all the same. I'm going to go ahead and grab the head that's in question right here, just so that you have a second NPI example. It's a little dirty because I didn't take the time to clean it. But as far as it's concerned, looking at this head now, there's a very, very easy way to tell which side of the engine this head is for. We know that the intake sits in the center of the engine on top, so therefore we know that this guy is going to sit right here in the top of the engine, right here in the center. So that means that we can tell, based off of which side the plug is on, which side of the engine this came from. So, right here, we see a plug, first thing out the gate, bam. And looking at the amount of dirt that's on and dust that's on the back side of this, I can already tell you this was external. This has smoke and soot and stuff like that. This was external, and this little plug proves that. If we go around to the other side and look, we can see it's got the typical look of something that's been sitting in oil inside of an engine for a while. It's got that sort of burnt grime look to it. As far as it's concerned, we see an open plug right here, so I know for a fact that this is the front-facing side. And again, we have gasket material that helps me to know that as well. So when it comes to it, that means this was the front side. The cam sat here. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back around so that you can see it. If you are facing the vehicle, this head sat on this side, the right side of the engine. If you're sitting in the driver's seat, this head sat on the left side of the engine. So for ease of explanation, this is the driver's side head. If you want this to be a passenger side head, all you have to do is remove this with a simple Allen key, place it here in this hole, and then boom. When you put your cam on, make sure your cam gear is on this side. You might want to clean this dust off so it's not going into your engine, of course. And then make sure you put your chain tensioner there. As far as everything else is concerned, you'll have whatever side of the engine you want this on. It's as simple as that. Anybody who's telling you otherwise is probably trying to sell you something, truth be told. Or just somebody who's having a hard time believing it, and hopefully this video makes that a little easier. I'm going to go ahead and get all this junk put away and get back to the rest of my day. Thank you for your time.